2013 991 This is a convertible. I bet some of you guys are wondering how to change an oil on one of these. Now, this video is not a DIY. This is just informational. I don't do DIY videos. I work for a living, guys, so I'm sorry. Can't help you with anything. I have to run the shop and make my living. So here's a button you want to press with ignition in position 2. Kind of like when you're pretty much retracting your roof. You hit the trunk button, hold it. The clamshell will raise up. Okay, once it raises up all the way, now there's access to a fan component here. You're gonna have dual fans, which are right here. These get clipped out. There's clips. Okay, this is rubber clips. They all get clipped out, disconnected, and then the air housing gets removed as well. There's also clips on that. Once you clip everything out, make sure everything is intact. All the grommets. There's some grommets here. And this is really shouldn't be done by a do-it-yourselfer unless you have experience with Porsches. There's a drain plug underneath. We raise the vehicle up and we drain it into a container. We always check to make sure there's no oil consumption. The problem is when you fill the oil up, if you overfill it, you know, you'll get an illumination on your cluster right there. It's gonna say oil overfilled, but it won't tell you right away. You'd have to drive it roughly 10 miles for it to display actual level. We use a computer to measure millimeters. We have a Porsche computer, a factory computer, that we measure what the levels are when we fill the oil, but we already know what it has to be when we drain it at a certain period of time, at a certain time frame. Let's say an hour. We already know how much it's supposed to drain out because I do so many of these cars, most of 911s. But yeah, that's the only access you have here. Filter is pretty tight to get to. As you can see, this filter's out. We're getting ready to replace the filter. You know, I got my napkins here. I don't want any oil to leak on his engine bay. Somebody's already been in this engine before. Some of these grommets we found were pushed in, missing. Some of them were just laying here on the side. So yeah, that's how you do the oil change on this car. The biggest thing is putting the right quantity. Whatever the specs is, it depends on your car. I'm not going to give you the spec, guys, because I don't want to give you the wrong specs because they're all different depending on the engine you have. So that's it. That's how you do an oil change on one of these. This is why it's a lot more expensive to do an oil change on a Porsche than say a BMW or a Mercedes, because there's time involved. You have to do it properly. You know, you can scratch the rear wing. It's a lot of things that can happen. You know, somebody needs to know what they're doing when they're taking it apart. They have to be mechanically inclined, or you can just mess some stuff up here. So yeah, that's how you do an oil change on one of these babies. It's a really beautiful car. I wish it was a manual, but you know, this gentleman likes PDK, so that's fine. But yep, that is it. Let me show you guys the actual oil from the I just pulled out. Okay, here's the oil. So I always drain them into the buckets. That way I know how much oil came out, how much they're burning, and if there's any gas smell or anything like that, it tells me that it's running rich. But this is why we change our oils and recommend changing it every 5,000. Look how dirty this oil is after 10,000. It's nasty. The oil is not the problem. The oil is not the one that breaks down as much as there's contaminants in the oil. Micrometals, soot. On the DFI engines, they build soot just like a diesel car. So soot gets between the timing chains, and if you don't change it on time, it can start to stretch those chains due to it's, you know, carbon. It's basically like a hard diamond. Gets everywhere and causes issues. So I don't know if you can see this right here, that reflection. Yeah, some nasty oil. There's a little bit of water in this oil. It's because it's been short trip, but not a whole lot. Nothing crazy. So yeah, so that's it. That's the steps to do this oil change. And once you pour the oil in, drive the car. Best is always to put a little bit less, and you can always top it off, but you can't always take it out easy. I hope this video helped somebody understand what it takes for Porsche Tech to do an oil change on your car. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.